relationship with powerful sources of information by economic necessity and reciprocity of interest. This is not a right-wing ideology I'm giving you. This is reality. The media do the job. And I'm going to show you some videos here where not only did they, in private, they admitted the reasons why they did it. So that I was going to expose the media to national president. And it was a simple theory. Who would win? Little itty-bitty pinhole camera affixed to my tie or to my colleague's tie, or all those billion-dollar media corporations? Let's go undercover inside CNN and see, you hear the CNN stuff, Russia, 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 Russia.
Why CNN constantly he said, good job everybody covering the good accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit?
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any giant proof.
The senior producer at CNN says that it's a witch hunt, they don't have proof, and it's all about the ratings. He says the CEO of CNN said in internal meetings it was all about ratings. Now you might say, well, that's just a low level, or he's not low level, but he's an Atlanta producer. So I've never heard of that guy, who cares? Well, have you ever heard of Van Jones? Let's see what he has to say about the Russian investigations.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good.
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing? What do you think's gonna happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing, bro.
Really?
By the way, I can't come up with the memes. I don't think you could pay Madison Avenue people to come up with these memes. I couldn't hire people. I mean, if I had to hire a staff and be the creative director, I'd just go on reddit.com and pull the memes and tweet them out. Because now we're engaged in mimetic warfare, right? Visual images transfix in a way that words don't. And some of you, I mean, I was born in the 80s. I guess you guys were born like, this is after, before you were born, Keenan and Kel. But good stuff. And these videos, they just blew up. I mean, the #1 trending, and our videos, we're going to release a video this week, which I'll tell you about in a second. Our videos, #1 trending videos on Earth that day. So what do you think the social media companies are going to do when they realize that independent people can break news, watch it grow, and they can, what is the social media company, what are they going to do?
Censor.
They're going to start censoring us. And I love this graphic because it shows the consumer, and the people in the middle are not happy about it. Not happy. So they go, you know what? We need to start censoring the information because we cannot allow people to get information like this. It's not allowed. So they start censoring people. You ever heard of shadow banning before? Well, if you don't believe it's a thing, if you're one of those people in the audience who came to be a disbeliever, then this is a former software engineer at Twitter, a man named Abhinav Vedrevu, talking about shadow banning and how it works.
One strategy is to shadow ban so that you have ultimate control. The idea of the shadow ban is that you ban someone but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting but no one sees their content. So they just think that no one's engaging with their content when in reality no one's seeing it.
Instagram, whatever you do, okay? You think it's going to show up on their timeline, but if you have ideas they don't like, they can actually censor it, or as he calls it, shadow ban. Abhinav goes on to say that they used to do this when he was employed at Twitter. And of course, BuzzFeed and all the mainstream media, instead of taking them at their word, or rather taking the employees and the videos at the word, just report that Twitter spokespeople deny the claims. That's not journalism, that's public relations, BuzzFeed. Journalism is challenging what the spokesperson tell you, not blindly reporting it. And once in a while, we'll get congressional hearings.
Well, let me focus for a minute, Mr. Bonch. As you know, there have been several videos that were released in recent weeks that I and a lot of other people find highly troubling. Abhinav Vedrevu described as a former Twitter software engineer, was captured on video saying the following, quote, "One strategy is to shadow ban, so you have ultimate control. The idea of a shadow ban is that you ban someone, but they don't know they've been banned because they keep posting and no one sees their content." Is that a practice that occurs at Twitter?
No, sir, we do not shadow ban users. These folks were caught on video. They weren't speaking on behalf of the company. They were speaking in their personal capacity. We do not shadow ban folks. What we do is if an account is spammy, meaning engaging in malicious automation, we will hide, make it harder for them to be found on our platform.
So I would just say stay tuned, because Project Veritas is, and they can lie under oath and they can obfuscate under oath, but we are going to be following up. Now, a little about what's coming next. We do have a video coming out this week. It's going to be a video that says we need to know the truth so we can bend the truth. Damning stuff is coming out this week. Stay tuned. But I just want to end with the series we did in the presidential election, because you hear a lot of things involving conspiracy theories about Russia. You hear about evidence in the 2016 election. This is the most sophisticated undercover investigation that we've ever done into Hillary Clinton's campaign. And you're about to see a 2-minute mashup that I created for you that shows contractors with the Democratic National Committee working, according to them, for the Hillary campaign indirectly, is what they say. And they talk about voter fraud. They talk about busing people in using fake IDs. They talk about inciting violence on the ground of Trump rallies to make it look like Trump supporters are violent. And as you watch this video, think about the fact that none of these people, they've all been fired, but none of them got prosecuted. And you have on videotape evidence of actual conspiracy to commit crime.
And you're protesting, and you do these actions, you will be attacked at Trump rallies. That's what we do.
There's a script. Okay.
Sometimes the crazies bite, and sometimes the crazies don't bite.
Hillary is aware of all the work that you guys do. I know.
Campaign's fully out.
And then they tell Hillary what's going on.
Well, I mean, nobody knows who changed her name.
Yeah.
Campaign pays DNC pays partners, because the whole group goes and executes the shit on the ground.
I'm not too sure out. We need to start this shit right away.
You know what? We've been busting people in, deep fucking assholes for 50 years, and we're not going to stop now. We're just going to find a different way to do it.
In the end, if it's the candidate, Hillary Clinton, the future president of the United States, who wanted ducks on the ground. If I got people give ducks on the ground.
So it's, wow.
Don't repeat that to you.
Don't repeat that. Only 40 million people on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And this guy he met with the President Obama 47 times. It's not a public record, according to White House logs. He was fired by, I guess, down in Brazil it was. Scott Fogel was fired. And it was mentioned, I was sitting in the presidential debates that day in Vegas. I was sitting a few rows back, and when President Trump mentioned Project Veritas, my phone lit up. People I hadn't spoke to since I was in high school. And Hillary did not deny it. She did not deny what we
I have a feeling how they came. I believe it was her campaign that did it. Just like if you look at what came out today on the clips, where I was wondering what happened with my rally in Chicago and other rallies where we had such violence. She's the one in Obama that caused the violence. They hired people. They paid them $1,500.
She got asked about it on the airplane, and she changed the subject. I was backstage at the debate, and I'll just play 1 or 2 more slides for you. I was backstage, and one of the problems with citizen journalism is you have to break through the mainstream media firewall. And the media organizations are actually afraid to play the videos I've just shown for you, the ones about Creamer and Fogel. Because they, in their minds, they were worried that remember, it was a long shot that Trump did. When Hillary was elected, that she would retaliate against the media corporations, the publicly traded corporations. Because they're regulated by the FCC, she could revoke their license. And Creamer was in the office of one of these companies with a gun, metaphorically pointing to the executive's head, said, if you air these Veritas tapes, I will make your life a living hell. And that was the irony. So it was actually quite hard for us to get these videos on TV. We did get them on CNN, we got them in the New York Times, but I was trying desperately to get the message out. And sometimes we not only have to be guerrilla in how we obtain the information, we have to be guerrilla in how we distribute it. And the backstage, I tried so hard to get the videos, to talk about the videos, so I was thinking, maybe if I sneak into a camera shot walking behind one of these anchors, like NBC News or Sean Hannity, maybe if he sees me, he'll pivot to me and ask me about the videos.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is important. We had 2 tapes now come out. I just saw James Okeefe in the crowd here a moment ago. We funnel through the DNC, funnel through democracy, whatever, right into the hands of agitators fomenting violence, going back as far as Chicago against your father, and a huge, massive voter fraud scheme that they put
there in the background and trying to get.
What he was talking about today. We'll accept a fair result. But we're not going to accept them when they say, we've been doing this for 50 years. We've been busted. We don't play by the rules. The rules only apply to conservatives, apparently. Or maybe we're the only ones with the morals to be able to actually comply by that. You know, this stuff's coming out. This isn't pretend. This is undercover video.
That's James Okeefe right over there that did the video.
So, that, you know, we get on television, that's one way to get on there.
Your phone call
Not
done.
easy to do, but then the title of my first book is called Breakthrough, because we quite literally broke through. We broke through on the story. It made CNN, even Anderson Cooper had to talk about it, and the people in the background were not our paid employees, they were citizens who were outraged. Twitter, even though they tried to shadow ban us, the hashtag was trending at 150,000 tweets. I mean, Power Rangers was trending with 8,000 tweets and was above our hashtag, but the people could not stop. They could not stop the resistance of truth.
Different. Video emerging of a group of pro-Clinton political operatives talking about stirring up trouble and provoking violence in Trump rallies.
And they fired the people. The New York Times even took a screenshot of our video and put it in the A section. So, my message to you is that citizen journalism is not easy. You have to overcome obstacles, you have to face lawsuits. I've been incarcerated, I have faced 12 cases of litigation against my organization. But it's no longer just me. We have dozens of people now full-time. We're out there like germs, penetrating deep state organizations, media companies, tech companies, voter fraud. And you'll see the story we put out this week, which will blow the lid open even further. And we're trying to create a renaissance of investigative journalism. And we have this book out called American Project. I guess we have 100 copies. We're going to give them out after the event. I will stay for about 15 minutes to sign them after Q&A, and I will do that. And I really appreciate you guys having me. Thank you so much.
Yeah! Let's go, Chris! Woo! Yeah! Woo!
Okay, we're now going to open the floor up for questions. If you do have a question to ask Mr. Okeefe, please line up right over here, right-hand side of the audience, left-hand side.
My favorite of the hospital questions. We got to have some.
Pleasure meeting, seeing you on the news. Respect that, you know, you're so big and went this far. Respect for that. But my view is that you have, from the point of view, you have a certain bias, conservative bias. I'm not conservative, I'm not liberal, I'm neither one of those, but you have a particular bias, right? And the way I grew up is that I don't trust the right wing or the left wing because they're both part of the same bird. Instead of attacking just liberal institutions, why not go under the ones that control it, basically? Why not go for each? I respect the fact that you're doing it, but you're hitting the top of it. Superficial, in my opinion. At the end of the day, it's like you said, 1984, you want to fight the deep state, but you're fighting private institutions. That right there, you're for limited government, but you're in a public campus funded by the government, that's allowing you the right to speak. So, why not target
the Constitution allows the right to speak.
free speech.
Not the government.
Well, we certainly haven't targeted free speech. I've been jailed. I've had my constitutional, by a Department of Justice in California, had AR-15s pointed at him as they confiscated his hard drives. So we are fighting. Basically, what's happened is we are insurgents in an unjust world, fighting an unjust system every day. They put our reason for being on the line. Now, you have a good point. Should we diversify our targets? I would say that we are doing that. We've hired more undercover journalists in the last 6 to 8 months, quadrupled in size. So you're going to see us expanding everywhere. And that includes some of the institutions you mentioned. It does. I would say that we are focusing on the sacred cows, the organizations that, for whatever reason, these large media corporations refuse to look into. They look into everyone else. So it's almost like, it's very hypocritical because the people in mass media will not look into entitlement programs. They won't look at public employee unions or the pension scandal in California. They won't look at any of these institutions. Someone's got to look into it. So I think we're providing a balance, and I think as we grow, you're going to see us look at everything. But it's kind of funny how people expect us to do their job. I mean, they're billion-dollar corporations. They're afraid to do it. Also, Upton Sinclair was a socialist. Gunther Wohlrich was a communist. So plenty of journalists have agendas. It's not a question of whether they have an agenda. The question is whether they are accurate and fair, and they're accurately relaying information to the consumer of news. In other words, is what you're seeing to be. And I would say that newspapers have done a terrible disservice by obfuscating, by using words in a way that paints the wrong portrait. Video does not lie. I've never been sued for selective editing. They sue me for privacy, okay, but that's a different matter. That's actually an ethical argument I can win, because I don't believe government workers have an expectation of privacy on the job. So this is a very complicated issue, and it's not partisan. I was motivated by a sense of justice, and we live in a very unjust world, and my colleagues have lived through hell. So I think that you're going to see us grow and expand into state houses, into government programs, and private institutions, and I think you'll see the people of this country over time come together on these issues instead of being so divided. Next question.
Woo! Yeah.
Really quickly to touch on what he was saying, the left has the media, they have Hollywood. When people are talking about being PC, they're talking about being more like the left, not like the right. So they have the culture right now. There is some need to fight for people on the left. Right now, I feel like it's very anti-conservative. I'm on a college campus. The things that are done to
that changed some people's minds. Now I just have 1,000. And if the professors, well, I mean, forget bias. I want to show corruption. I want to go, and I think that the best solution is investigative journalism, exposing them. The more we do that, the more we educate the people. And the more we educate the people, the better decisions they are going to make. Right now, they have no idea what's going on. They have no idea. People had any idea how corrupt it was. They would be like rebelling in the streets right now. They would be, things would change. So that's our mission, is to educate.
That public, and what do you do about it?
It's a tough thing to know if you personally have been targeted. I think that after we expose those videos, I think they, I have 404,000 followers on Twitter, and I am not a verified account. Jack Dorsey is not verified. It's absurd. It's impossible. But I think Jack is worried. Jack Dorsey at Twitter is concerned because he knows that we're out there. We're trying to get the names of people that are shadow banning. She worked there and she got fired. Things to find or the data is making more money than the president. I don't know if it's going to be easy to keep these monopolies. I think these monopolies are 100 times bigger than the monopoly.
No question. I just want to
we believe, I subscribe to the anti-right hypothesis, which is that the best way to fight
she didn't try to
being covered by it. So whoever the powerful media company is, success is being covered and talked about by
got her fired.
That's the success. So you can't go into your own little cocoon your little alternative world and talk amongst each other in your own little fishbowl. You have to be covered by ABC News and New York Times. That's why I show this slide here, because that's winning. Times. We need to do more things like that. So, and we will. And you can't, that's priceless. You can't buy that. So, and you know, I tend to be the type of person that says, don't create your alternative media. Be covered by the mainstream. Become the media. Get covered by the media, which is our vision. And you have to take it to them. You know, that's what you got to do. That's what we're going to do.
I'm going to ask about censorship and how Benny got to that. So I guess I would ask you, what's your thoughts on the media and the left and politicians in general? Do you think they're all working together? Because I do see that, you know, certain media states.
And it's actually literally propaganda. These are stupid. People called bewildered, deferred, and people need to be tamed, and there need to be these experts, these specialized class, is what it was called by these people from 100 years ago that interpret the information for you, other in front of you. So I think the solution to cut through that, or to break through that, is to show people unfiltered information. That is, people behind closed doors in private. And what you'll invariably find is that people in private will always, for the most part, be more honest than in public. And it's a necessary. And as long as that is the means of production, as long as you have mass media corporations which are afraid to talk about Hillary Clinton, the system overwhelmingly favored Hillary Clinton. That's a fact. And Bernie, I mean, I went to the DNC convention in Philadelphia, trashed like a Hillary supporter. The Bernie people hated me much more than the Trump people. I mean, the Bernie people hate Hillary Clinton because they recognize that the system favored her. And they certainly do. And these sort of deep state people, Comey, Mueller, they don't favor her. That's a fact. So to break through that requires. So that's the sort of history lesson. I write about it ad nauseum in my book about the nature of propaganda and how it functions. I think people are waking up, to be honest with you. I think people are really starting to wake up to it for the first time.
The media used to stand for something. If you look at history, like in 1962, the decision of John Scaly to have lunch with Alexander Bowman and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Why do you think the shift to the left occurred, as opposed to maybe the shift to the right, or disdain force?
Why did the media shift? It's become a joke. I mean, it's a bunch of people, it's a circle jerk. I mean, they just get on the board. I mean, you can't, I'm not even, the Washington Post won a Pulitzer Prize last week for investigating Project Veritas. Think about that. You have to stand in awe. I mean, that's actually a fact. They won a Pulitzer Prize for compromising one of our undercover journalists. So I think somewhat Steve Bannon was accurate. He said that the media has become an enemy of what the people care about. They become a protector of the establishment. It's not a left or right thing. It's not left or right. They become a protector of the system, big corporations, of the collusion between big corporations and their advertisers. They can't rock the vote. And I think if you want to trace it back, I think it goes back to Watergate. I think it goes back to Ben Bradley, the Washington Post, not awarding the Pulitzer Prize to the Chicago Sun-Times for the Mirage investigation. But there is a renaissance happening right now. And let me tell you something. We are building our army, and if you are lying, cheating, or stealing, you just might become the next unwilling star of an internet video. This Wednesday. Stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Woo!
Thank you all very much for coming out. Again, there's more books, American Pravda, out now. It's up in the front. Mr. James Okeefe will be out there signing for you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Alright, you guys. I'm good. You? Name is Okeefe.
That was good, huh?
Yeah, it was. I saw him on the women's Republican thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, basically the same stuff he was talking about here. Yeah, I got my book signed when I did your sign.
No.
Oh, he's not signing?
No, he will, but
Oh, well, yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to